White woman takes 9-year-old black boy's seat and discovers he is the son of the airline's owner. "I'm sorry, dear, but you must be confused. This is first class." Patricia Coleman's voice echoed down the aisle of the plane as she adjusted her Hermes bag on the seat next to her, deliberately occupying seat 9A, which the 9-year-old boy had shown on his boarding pass. The boy, small for his age, held the document with his trembling little hands while other passengers watched the scene unfold. "But, ma'am, this is his seat," replied Daniel Thompson, with a politeness that contrasted sharply with the arrogance of the woman in front of her. "My nanny helped him find the right seat before they went to economy class." Patricia laughed condescendingly, the kind of laugh privileged people use when they think they've found something absurdly impossible. "Oh, how cute. Someone must have made a terrible mistake in the system. Children in her situation usually travel in the back seats where there's more room to play." The boy took a deep breath, his dark eyes revealing a disturbing maturity for someone so young. There was something there, a strange serenity, as if he had witnessed this kind of situation before and knew exactly how it would end. "Ma'am, can I show you my boarding pass again?" Daniel held out the document, but Patricia didn't even look at it. "Honey, don't be stubborn. I'll call the flight attendant to resolve this properly. I'm sure they'll find a more appropriate place for his—" She pressed the call button with a satisfaction that made several first-class passengers look away, clearly uncomfortable with what they were witnessing. Daniel remained there motionless, holding his small school backpack and watching Patricia with a calmness that began to bother the woman. It was not normal for a child to react with such composure to such a humiliating situation. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Patricia asked, her voice losing some of its initial confidence. "Call your guardians. Where are your parents?" "My father is busy today," Daniel replied simply. "But I'm sure he'll be interested to know how I was treated on his flight." Patricia frowned. There was something about the way the boy said, "his flight," that bothered her, but she quickly dismissed the feeling. After all, what power could a black child traveling alone have? The flight attendant approached quickly, clearly nervous about the situation. "How can I help you?" "This child is in the wrong seat," Patricia declared imperiously. "There has obviously been a mistake in the system. Please find him another seat, preferably far away from here." Daniel silently handed his boarding pass to the flight attendant, who examined the document with growing confusion. Her eyes moved between the card, the boy, and the seat number where Patricia was comfortably seated. "Señora," the flight attendant began hesitantly, "this boarding pass does indeed indicate seat 9A, and there's a special note here." "What note?" Patricia interrupted impatiently. The flight attendant looked at Daniel, then back at the ticket, her expression changing dramatically. I need to check something with the captain. Excuse me." As the flight attendant hurried away, Patricia felt a twinge of unease. Why did everyone seem so nervous? And why did that little boy keep watching her with those eyes that seemed to hold secrets far greater than any child should know? If you're enjoying this story about how a simple prejudiced attitude can reveal surprising truths, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because sometimes the person you choose to underestimate may be holding a card up their sleeve that will completely change the game. The flight attendant returned with Captain Rodriguez by his side, both with expressions that mixed nervousness and something that looked like reverence. Patricia immediately noticed the change in their behavior and felt a twinge of irritation. Finally, she sighed dramatically. "I hope you found a suitable place for this child. I need to get settled properly. I have an important meeting in Miami." The captain looked at Daniel, then at Patricia, and his jaw twitched visibly. "Ma'am, there's a delicate situation here. This young passenger has a valid reservation for this seat, and there's a special note in his record." "That special note," Patricia interrupted with a cruel laugh. "What kind of special note could a child have? Some special needs, behavioral problems?" Daniel remained silent, but his small fists clenched slightly. For the first time, a shadow passed over his young eyes, not of fear, but of a deep sadness that no child should carry. "Ma'am," the captain tried again, but Patricia was gaining confidence from what she interpreted as hesitation. "Look at all you getting worked up over a badly behaved child," she continued, her voice rising enough that other passengers could clearly hear. "In my 25 years of flying first class, I have never seen such incompetence. This airline used to have standards." An elderly woman in the next row muttered to her husband, "What a horrible woman." but Patricia was too far into her performance to notice. Daniel took a deep breath and for the first time spoke directly to Patricia. His voice was low, controlled, but carried a weight that made several nearby adults stop to listen. "Ma'am, have you ever lost someone important?" The question caught Patricia completely off guard. What kind of question is that?" "My mother died 2 years ago," Daniel continued, his voice remaining steady despite the obvious pain. "She always taught me that education and respect are more important than money or social status. She said that when people treat us badly, we should respond with dignity." An awkward silence fell over the first-class cabin. Patricia felt all eyes turning to her, but instead of backing down, she doubled down on her cruelty. "What a touching story," she said with venomous sarcasm, "but that doesn't change the fact that you shouldn't be here. Perhaps your mother should have taught you about knowing your place in society as well." The comment was so brutal that several people let out audible gasps of shock. An elderly woman in the next row turned around completely and said, "Ma'am, that is unacceptable." But something extraordinary happened. Instead of crying or cowering, as any normal child would after such cruelty, Daniel straightened his shoulders. His eyes met Patricia's with an intensity that made her instinctively recoil. "You're right," he said calmly. "My mother taught me about knowing my place. She told me that my place is wherever I have a right to be, and that I should never let other people's fear or ignorance make me forget that." Patricia, realizing she was losing control of the situation, tried a new tactic. "Look, you're all making this much more complicated than it needs to be. I'm a senior consultant with Coleman & Associates, one of the largest business consulting firms in New York. I work with the largest corporations in the country." She paused to let her credentials sink in, then continued with renewed arrogance. "Clearly, there has been an error in the reservation system. This boy obviously cannot afford a first-class seat. Someone must have done charity or used airline miles, and now we are all being inconvenienced because of this." Daniel listened silently, but attentive observers would notice a small smile touching the corners of his mouth. It wasn't the smile of an ordinary child. It was the smile of someone who knew something the others didn't. The captain finally found the courage to speak. "Miss Coleman, I must inform you that this young passenger has a reservation under special circumstances, and his boarding pass was issued directly from the airline's management with specific instructions for VIP treatment." VIP, a child. "In addition," the captain continued, clearly uncomfortable, "we have been instructed to ensure that all of his needs are met with the highest priority, instructions that came directly from the office of—" "Whose office?" Patricia demanded. The captain looked at Daniel, who gave a small shake of his head as if to say, "It's not time yet." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I can't disclose confidential passenger information," the captain replied, following Daniel's silent signal. Patricia was furious. "This is ridiculous. I demand to speak to a supervisor. I demand a full explanation. A child can't have VIP instructions unless... She stopped mid-sentence, a shadow of doubt crossing her face for the first time. For a moment, she looked at Daniel with an expression of near recognition, as if something was trying to connect in her mind. But her arrogance quickly stifled any moment of reflection. "It doesn't matter who you think you are or who your parents think they are," she said directly to Daniel. "In the real world, people like his need to learn that there are natural hierarchies, and some people are simply born to serve while others are born to lead." It was at this moment that something definitely changed in the atmosphere of the first class. Daniel tilted his head slightly, as if he were not only processing Patricia's words, but also carefully weighing his response. When he finally spoke, his voice carried an authority that should not exist in a 9-year-old child. "Miss Coleman, you are right about one thing. Some people are truly born to lead, and today you are going to find out exactly what that means." The murmurs in the cabin grew louder. Some passengers had already started recording discreetly with their phones. Patricia noticed, but she thought it worked in her favor, that the world would see her standing up for order. But then Daniel calmly reached into his small backpack and pulled out a neatly folded document. He handed it to the captain. The man unfolded it, his eyes widening as he read. Patricia, curious and growing nervous, craned her neck to peek, but the captain shielded the paper instinctively. After a tense pause, Captain Rodriguez spoke clearly, so everyone nearby could hear. "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to clarify. This young passenger, Daniel Thompson, is the son of Mr. Charles Thompson, the owner of this airline." The cabin erupted in whispers and gasps. Patricia's face drained of color. Daniel finally turned his gaze fully on her, no longer just a calm child, but a boy carrying the weight of authority. "My father believes in dignity and respect for every passenger, no matter their background. I was traveling today to see how people are treated when no one knows who they really are." The elderly woman from before clapped softly, joined quickly by others. The businessman shook his head at Patricia in disgust. Patricia, sweating now, stammered, I didn't know. If I had known—" Daniel interrupted gently but firmly. "That's the point. You shouldn't have to know who someone is to treat them with respect. A person's worth isn't measured by money, skin color, or social class." By now, several passengers were openly recording. Patricia tried to cover her face with her designer scarf, but the damage was done. The captain cleared his throat. "Ms. Coleman, I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to move. Seat 9A belongs to Master Thompson. We can arrange another seat for you in economy class if you wish to continue on this flight." "Economy?" Patricia gasped as though struck. "You can't possibly—" But the captain cut her off. "Those are your options, ma'am." Humiliated, Patricia gathered her things and shuffled down the aisle, whispers and phone cameras following her every step. She sank into an economy seat, her once proud posture completely broken. Back in first class, Daniel sat quietly in his rightful seat. The flight attendants treated him with discreet kindness, and several passengers offered him words of respect and admiration. When the plane landed, the videos spread across social media like wildfire. The clip of Daniel calmly stating, "My father believes in dignity and respect for every passenger," went viral. Patricia Coleman's arrogance and cruelty became the subject of worldwide outrage. Within days, Coleman and Associates announced that Patricia had been suspended indefinitely. Major clients distanced themselves from her, unwilling to be associated with someone whose prejudice had been broadcast to millions. Meanwhile, Daniel quietly celebrated his 10th birthday with his father, who told him how proud his late mother would have been. At the small gathering, Charles Thompson lifted a glass and said, "To Daniel, who reminded us all that true class is not in where you sit, but in how you treat others." The room filled with applause, and Daniel smiled, not the smile of victory over Patricia, but the smile of a boy who knew he had honored his mother's lesson.